The deportation of 7 illegal Rohingyas from India has made global headlines. New Delhi is being accused of being insensitive to their plight. Rights groups have been citing international law. What is this controversy all about? Take a look.
One by one, the 7 men were led into the immigration briefing hall of a dusty road in the border town of Moray in Manipur. The deportation formalities were over in no time and the Rohingyas were quickly pushed back to where they came from 6 years ago. One of the men left with these words. All these men had come to India in 2012, 5 years before the deadly attacks began in Myanmar's Rakhine state. They had been convicted under the Foreigners Act and detained in Silchar, Assam since then. Now, with Myanmar accepting them as its citizens and India's Supreme Court giving the go-ahead to their deportation, these men were no longer stateless. No such luck for tens of thousands of other Rohingyas in India. They are still stateless. They continue to live in refugee camps in Jammu, Nuh in Haryana's Mewat district, Delhi, Hyderabad, Jaipur and Chennai, among other places. It is estimated that India is home to over 40,000 Rohingya refugees. As many as 14,000 of them came to India in 2012 alone. But only 11,000 have valid refugee status. The rest are either asylum seekers or illegal immigrants. A majority of the Rohingyas don't have valid documents. They live in India illegally. They work in local shops and factories but cannot produce any papers to get that job. Some tried to illegally access documents to open bank accounts and secure school admissions for their children. It's a humanitarian crisis, but more than that, a security headache for India. Myanmar's persecuted minorities are strain on India's law and order apparatus. Security agencies believe several Rohingyas have been trained by the Taliban. The terror group Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army is suspected to have been born with support from Pakistan. Police in Mewat have been probing terror links of some of the Rohingya refugees. The security worries have been reflected in domestic politics in India. Jammu has witnessed anti-Rohingya protests. Some groups with vested interests try to exploit this controversy and oppose the deportation of Rohingyas. This story should be seen in perspective. India is home to refugees from many countries. Over 1 lakh Tibetans and almost equal number of Sri Lankan Tamils, thousands of Afghans and Sudanese live peacefully in India. They don't face deportation because most don't present security challenges. It cannot be said for the Rohingyas of Myanmar. Till a lasting political solution is found in their home country, thousands of them may continue to find shelter here. But for that, they must win the trust of security agencies. Bureau Report, Wion.
On Thursday, the Supreme Court of India was scathing while handing a public interest litigation challenging the deportation of 7 Rohingyas from India. The court not just threw out the challenge, it also asked pointed questions of the petitioner, Prashant Bhushan. When Mr. Bhushan argued that the government's move was against the UN Charter, the Chief Justice of India, Ranjan Gogoi, asked him, what did he have to say to the fact that Myanmar government had accepted all these 7 people as its citizens? Bhushan was clearly ignoring this fact and the court called him out for the deliberate omission. Mr. Bhushan was repeating what illegal Rohingya refugees have been saying all along.
जा रहा है उसका जान का कोई गारंटी नहीं होगी, पहला नंबर उसको मारा जाएगी। इसका जिम्मेदार पूरा हिंदुस्तान पब्लिक सबको गुजारिश करता हूं, उनका जिम्मेदार ये सरकार बनेगी।
This is also a sentiment shared by some rights activists who've made a career, it seems, out of public interest litigations. International activists were quick to join cause. The UN Special Rapporteur Tendai Ashiume warned India against breaching international legal obligations. She said, and I quote, the Indian government has an international legal obligation to fully acknowledge the institutionalized discrimination, persecution, hate and gross human rights violations these people have faced in their country of origin and provide them the necessary protection. Lots of high-sounding words there. The United Nations Refugee Agency has asked for clarification from India.
UNHCR continues to seek clarifications from the authorities on the circumstances under which these individuals were returned to Myanmar. The UN Refugee Agency is concerned that they did not have access to legal counsel, were not given a chance to access asylum processing, and have their claims assessed in India.
International media organizations also chose to remain selective. The picture they painted mostly missed out the Indian government's perspective. To this section, the Rohingya is almost like beyond the pale of law. They're forever victims, capable of causing no harm. So they miss the fact that only seven of the more than 40,000 Rohingyas illegally living here in India have been deported. For them, the fact that Myanmar has accepted these 7 men as their own is of little consequence. That these 7 men were already being held at a deportation camp for the past 6 years is also being ignored. International law is being cited, but the rights of citizens affected due to the demographic changes caused by illegal immigration, and I repeat the term illegal immigration, gets no mention. The perennial story of persecution also skips mention about the rage of the persecuted and the security challenge it may pose. Sections of the Rohingyas are militarized in Myanmar. They have been found to have links with terror groups and anti-India forces in Pakistan. Cooperation with Myanmar is in India's geopolitical interest. New Delhi is building bridges with Southwest Asia. Myanmar is a key fulcrum of its Look East policy. India has built the Sitwe port in Rakhine as part of the grand plan, but India also continues to shelter tens of thousands of Rohingyas. Only 7 who were here illegally have been sent back. Those preaching India about human rights are looking at the facts with one eye closed.